This podcast is part of the Famous Original Podcast Network family. You can find us by going to www.fopnet.biz.
All over. It contains strong language, strong opinions, and strong beer. It is not meant for children or for those who think they are children. You know who you are.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Okay, everyone, so welcome back to the show. We have our special guest here, and I guess I shouldn't say special every time because he's here almost every month, unless we really fuck it up and forget to have him, which has never happened. This is our Not America correspondent from Not America, and presenting the Not America report, Steven. How you doing, Steven?
Hello, how are you doing, Austin?
I'm good. There's only one of us over on this side, so it's kind of...
Well, it's quality over quantity, isn't it?
I suppose. That's true. If it's quality over quantity, we should do this more often. No, sorry. Just kidding, Tom.
Yeah.
So how's everything over there in Brexit land?
Oh, it's been very quiet, as you would expect in the rest of the world. As usual, nothing much has been happening. We've just all been sat around watching what's going on in your country. Which
is that like a TV show for you guys over there? It's like watching what our country does.
It used to be in a way, but now it's become so far past what is believable that
our country jumped the shark.
you have done, and that's just left us going. Nah, that can't be real. Whoever's written that is just no. So unfortunately, there's it used to be we had a really good opportunity to just sit and laugh at what was going on in your country, but unfortunately, there seems to be repercussions elsewhere in the world, and there seem to be certain echoes of what's going on in your country happening elsewhere, and that kind of starts upsetting people because, I mean, you if you didn't live in your country, you wouldn't want to think that your country was going to then become like America.
That's true. That's a good point. So speaking of things happening in Not America that I'm sure we've had some impact on, what stories you got for us this time?
Well, I'll blast through some quick bits before we get to some of the main topics. But there's been a few elections going on in different places in the world. I mean, Thailand's had an election which has resulted in a victory for the military, since they get to appoint all 250 of the upper house seats, who then get to vote for the prime minister.
That is a really stretched definition of election.
Yeah, I mean, the military-controlled electoral commission. They stopped publishing the results actually partway through, and then took a few days before giving a final vote tally to say that their preferred choice had won. And then they've decided that the military who controls the police have decided to arrest the main opposition leader and charge him with treason.
For the audacity of being the opposition candidate.
Yeah, for the audacity of opposing the government. And now he'll be heading for trial in the courts who are controlled by the military. So that's
I'm sure that'll go well for him.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. I mean, it's not gone well over the border in Cambodia when that's happened. So I know it's in Thailand. It looks like it's following suit. But these general election things, they do result in some strange things happening. But sometimes you can predict it. I mean, as you mentioned the other week in that Israel had a general election, which is basically in Israel, it's a popularity contest for who is the most ultra-right-wing, racist, xenophobic, genocidal criminal.
That's how we do our elections too.
Yeah, this is it. Well, the incumbent won, Benjamin Netanyahu, or I think you had different names for him, but But he celebrated by deciding that he was going to rename the stolen land that he had taken from the Syrians years ago, called the Golan Heights. They were going to rename it after Donald Trump.
Oh my God!
So I'm sure that Twitter had a field day as far as deciding what that alternative was going to be. But strangely enough, it should be noted that the drilling rights for oil in the Golan Heights has gone to Dick Cheney's wonderful company that he has, Halliburton.
Oh,
so,
of course.
That's which is a bit of a coincidence, really. But there you go.
Luckily, in this country, we have strong opposition to Dick Cheney. Like recently, Joe Biden just said that he's actually a pretty good guy, and he helped him a lot being vice president and knowing the legal bounds of the office. Which I'm not sure Dick Cheney ever did know the legal bounds of the office, really. Yeah,
it certainly wasn't a financial boundary.
No,
I don't think. But yeah, so not everybody seems to be very happy about Benjamin Netanyahu, though, because he is still facing criminal proceedings with his own country, and Spain has put out an arrest warrant for him, international arrest warrant for him for crimes, international crimes. So I don't think that'll ever be collected, but at least it's out there. And the people who did put that out from Spain, because there's just been an election in Spain itself, and the government that was in place actually has been retained. So it doesn't look like that's going to be reversed as far as a decision that's been made to actually pressure to try and get Benjamin Netanyahu in court in some respect. But yeah, the Spanish Socialist Party actually, who were a bit centre-left, really, to be perfectly honest, but they won the most votes in the Spanish general election, so they get to stay in government with 38 more seats than they had originally, which is good because they've increased their vote, and combined with their coalition partner, the left-wing Podemos, who won 42 seats, they've actually managed to increase the vote share for the left and end of the spectrum, which is good. It does mean that there's a sort of hung parliament situation where no party or coalition has the full amount of votes in order to keep themselves in power. But interestingly enough, the People's Party, which are the Conservatives, they had quite a drubbing and lost a lot of votes, and almost half their vote share, in fact, which seemed to go in two parts: one to the far right Vox Party, and some to the Citizens Party, who are centrist. So the general trend in Spain, at least, is to go towards the left, which currently isn't the case in your country, but hopefully it would be in the future.
Well, there was a slight shift to the left, at least in the House of Representatives in the last election.
There was, thankfully, and hopefully that'll be seen through at the presidential election. This trend hasn't been realised in Finland, unfortunately, where although the centre-left Social Democratic Party won the most votes, it was only by one seat they managed to become the largest party. The second largest party, unfortunately, is the Nationalist Finns Party. The difference between the two parties was 17.7 and 17.5% of the vote. So, thankfully, all the rest of the parties are saying that even the Conservative parties are saying they're not going to go into coalition with the Nationalist Finns. So
that's good.
There should be a rainbow alliance over there, or a minority government at least, to stop the Finns Party having any form of power, which is a positive. But as I say, there was a slight increase for the centre-left party. So, but it's not enough to actually make enough of a difference. But elsewhere, the Slovakia has got its first female president, which is unseating a right-wing incumbent. So that was a positive thing. It wasn't quite left, but at least it's moving in that direction. So that's a positive thing. But reflecting how things are in your country, in the Ukraine, there's been an election as well, and although the billionaire right-wing incumbent president has been beaten, it was by a television personality, which is where it reflects your country, really.
Unfortunately, our guy was both. This
is it. They separated the two things. the winner was called Vladimir Zelensky, who got 73% of the vote in the end, which is a massive amount when you consider. And he's the writer and star of a popular comedy TV show over there called Servant of the People, which is about an ordinary citizen who accidentally becomes president. Life imitating art has kind of happened over there. So that's a bit of an interesting thing, really, because he never really had a lot of policies. The people were just voting for him based upon his character on television, I think. So
hopefully he was well written.
How that. Well, this is it. It's just have to see how that pans out. But that's as far as what's been going on with elections. But it doesn't mean there's not been changes elsewhere in other countries. I mean, Algeria, their 20-year dictator, has been forced into resigning due to democracy protesters. And this 82-year-old authoritarian leader who's been severely disabled for like 6 years after having a stroke, but he was still going to be contesting the next election, which he would have won because there's no real democracy there. But and he changed the law to allow himself a sixth term, but seemingly the protesters were too vocal, so they managed to keep them from actually him becoming the lifelong president, basically. And thankfully, the protests, not just sort of over the border in Mali, which is in Africa, there's the Prime Minister and the entire government has resigned due to vote of no confidence because of the protests against their failure to address the violence by Al-Qaeda-linked groups. And similarly, elsewhere in Africa, in Sudan, I don't know if you've seen about this, but there's actually been a removal of the president there after protests by the people.
Oh, yeah.
And the military... Yeah, the military chief who sort of headed this coup ended up stepping down about 48 hours after it happened because there was such resistance to him being there because he was too close to the crimes and the previous president, despite removing him. And there's been a standoff going on for weeks now between the protesters and the actual military, and it's actually been led by what's called the Sudanese Professional Association, which actually is the Sudan's leading trade union labour organisation, which is a bit interesting really, because the Africa isn't maybe South Africa being the exception, but other African countries aren't known for having labour union organisations at the forefront of the politics,
or at all.
They seem to have, or at all, and they seem to have actually taken hold there.
Wow!
Though it wasn't the labour union organisations that managed to get the president of Liberia out of office, but that was merely just a day-long thing because he had to abandon his presidential office because it was infested with snakes, which is a bit more funny really. But yeah, so there's people, that's it. There's the regime change and the elections are going on across the world in that way, but some things don't change, which is it brings us to religion.
Oh boy,
really, because you remember they used to have a Nazi pope. Before this one that we've got, that's why this one's seen as being a good pope, because the previous one was an actual Nazi. Well, he's in retirement, so he's still alive, and he's decided that the blame for sex abuse by priests lies with the permissive sexual revolution of the 60s, and which makes sense because of course there was no sex abuse going on institutionally like for centuries before that. It all just started in the 60s, doesn't it? So the Catholic Church is obviously deciding that it's that's the right way to point the blame for this. It's easier and it's the permissive society and everything. But the Catholic Church has decided that they need to actually take an interest in what's going on with people's sexuality, particularly. And in Spain, in Madrid, they're running courses to cure homosexuality.
I'm sure that'll go well.
Well, the one good thing of it was it prompted a headline that says Catholic priests probed for gay courses. So it's
the headlines.
Yeah, but obviously, at least they're not taking such a harsh line on religious intolerance of homosexuality as is going on in Brunei.
Oh yeah.
Where I think you covered it before about the fact that now, again, headlines be misleading about being, about gay people being stoned, which may have, in the first instance, may have piqued your interest, Austin. But
that was the original title for this podcast.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the reality isn't that. No. I mean, it is about the podcast, the reality, but the in Brunei, it's not the reality. It's now that there's barbaric executions by throwing rocks at innocent people because of their sexuality, and other offences that actually get the same treatment and include adultery, rape, and defamation of the Prophet Muhammad. But strangely enough, there's no offence that's a capital crime for actually having sex with children.
Which seems to be the theme in these, groups, countries, and societies where they love their religious rules. Yeah, the sex with children doesn't ever seem to be
it doesn't seem
a
to be a problem.
To stop it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not allowed to say anything against the Prophet Muhammad, and you are allowed to have sex with children. I'm sure there's no link. Yeah. But anyway, instead of other countries, let's talk about the UK, because that's a much more interesting situation, because that's where I live. Yeah,
and you guys have quite a bit of interesting stuff going on right now.
We do, yeah. I mean, you mentioned the other week about the WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange being arrested and hauled out of the Ecuadorian embassy, where he'd been hiding for 7 years due to asylum. But his asylum was taken away from him by the Ecuadorian government. So they then told the British police straight away so they could come straight in.
Of course.
And he was arrested on charges of skipping bail for charges that of rape in Sweden, which the charges for rape in Sweden have been dropped. So he's the only thing he can be found guilty of, and he has actually been imprisoned for a short amount of time, is due to the skipping bail part, not anything else. Now, as we all know, there's interest from your government over there who want to prosecute him for his role in leaking the secrets of the government, because they didn't want people to know about their international crimes against humanity and their rendition and such like. Well,
I mean, it's annoying when, the stuff you've been trying to keep secret gets out there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, I can understand that there's an upset from one side with it, that it did put people's lives at risk, because there was revelations about where these people were and their personal details, so they could be tracked down. And I can understand that's not necessarily a positive thing. But then again, these were people that were torturing people without any oversight and without any authority to do so. So it's difficult to see where you're meant to have the sympathy. I can understand the families of these people who might be implicated, that might be difficult, but the actual people who are the torturers, that's a bit more difficult. But,
what's weird though is that our country is definitely taking a keen interest in him, but I'm not sure how the president feels about him, because on one hand, he likes that WikiLeaks released all those emails from the DNC right before the convention. Like, that's the thing that he liked a lot. But lately, he hasn't been so positive about WikiLeaks.
No, I think it's all right when you're revealing other people's secrets, but not when you're releasing Trump's.
Yeah, that all of a sudden becomes a little more thorny for him.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, it's something I've noticed, and I don't know whether you have noticed yourself, because you might. It's possible that you've overlooked it, but it seems like Trump doesn't apply the same rules to himself as he does to other people.
You know, that's a very good observation. I have, in fact, noticed that myself. And I've brought it up a couple of times.
Yeah,
but it is an issue we need to flesh out a little more. But yes, I've noticed that too.
Yeah, it's. There's things like how often you go play golf and whether you're actually committing crimes while you're in the White House, and the full gamut of what's going on, corruption and colluding with foreign powers and such like, and not actually winning an election but taking office, and it's a thorny issue. But seemingly Trump doesn't want to play by the same rules he expects other people to.
Yeah, so, even when those rules were set by him.
Yeah, although I think that your country does have an interest though in Julian Assange still, which it's a bit weird that the same day that that Julian Assange had his asylum stopped was the day when the US controlled International Monetary Fund. They agreed a $4.2 billion finance deal with Ecuador, and the US controlled World Bank agreed a $6 billion loan. And there might not be any link between Ecuador getting all of this free money and then deciding to give up. But
well, that's funny though, because that's actually a discussion I had, and I can't remember if it was on air or not. But I've had this discussion with Tom where because he said, "Do you think they'll go after Snowden next?" And I'm like, "Well, the thing is, Snowden is in Russia, and." I mean, America's been trying to economically sanction Russia and squeeze them already, and they're not doing a very good job.
Have they, though? Have they been trying?
That's a good point, yeah. But even if they did, like Russia, I think will be okay. Whereas Ecuador, it is much easier to manipulate them, to get them to do what you want, because you have so much leverage over, it's so much more powerful. And I was like, so I doubt that Snowden, they'll try to go after Snowden the same way because they just don't have the leverage over him, over that country.
And to be perfectly honest, it's not about actually getting the people who committed the perceived crimes. It's about the propaganda of it, and they only need to actually have one of them for that. They don't need to have all of them. So doing that with Julian Assange would be enough to perhaps you do it round about the time when the presidential elections are happening.
Of course,
which is why there hasn't been any extradition request yet.
Oh yeah.
So it's the only thing that'll screw that up is if the amount of time he's committed to court over here for the bail skipping, if he gets out and manages to go somewhere else before they manage to actually extradite him to the States, then that will screw up their carefully considered planning on it.
Well, luckily we know the Trump administration is really good at planning things, so it'll probably be okay for them.
Yeah, I'm sure that the various people who are in these top positions within your government and the people who will replace them and the people who will replace them and the people who will replace them, because obviously
we can't have,
by the time
one person too long.
But by the time it comes across, it'll be like sort of fourth generation down from what it is now. There won't be the same people in charge, except Trump. So what will happen then, as I say, it'll be difficult to see, but whether they actually manage to make political capital out of it in time to benefit Trump with his support base is what I suspect will be the repercussions of this, which is why it's worth including here, because obviously it's not just worth you knowing what's going on elsewhere, but this is something that could potentially impact your own elections in the near future.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
And you want to do what you can to make sure you no longer have the leader that you have.
Yes, we'd very much like that.
Yeah. Well, we'd like that as well. But
lots of people
unfortunately, she
lots of people.
yeah, unfortunately, she seems to be hanging on over here as our perceived leader, who doesn't seem to be able to lead
very much. Yeah.
She can't even lead a Congo line, I don't think. But
well, I've heard that after pretty much everything fell apart, then she finally reached out to Labour and Jeremy Corbyn. It's like, do you want to talk about this? I'm sure he's thinking, well, I've been wanting to talk about this for like 2 years.
Yeah, right at the beginning, he was ready to talk about it. The problem is that they had the failure of her own plan to get through, which she decided, as I said before, about bringing back repeatedly, and then wasn't allowed to really. Parliament had a opportunity to try and take back control of the whole Brexit situation and have a series of indicative votes that meant that they were decided in what the next steps were rather than she did. And one of those was a new referendum on any deal. One of them was leaving without a deal. One of them was having a Norway-style agreement. One of them was the Labour's plan where you keep within the single market and the same customs deal. And that latter one was the one that came closest to actually passing, but it did actually fall short by 3 votes, which is unfortunate. Yeah. And which turned out wasn't really a major thing, because almost immediately Theresa May was saying that she wouldn't have actually obeyed whatever the indicative votes by Parliament had decided. So, so it kind of, made it a bit of a whitewash. And then she tried to bring back a deal, but without the Northern Ireland bit in it, which was the contentious bit. But then it just left a gaping hole that people weren't willing to support it with this gaping hole in it, really. So she still failed because they were going, well, that's an incomplete deal. You bought a shit deal before, now you bought an incomplete one. I mean, beforehand, she did manage to persuade some of the Tory MPs to support her, more along the lines of the fact that she, not because the deal was any better, but it's because she promised to resign if the Tory MPs voted for it. But either not enough of them wanted her to go, or and in preference for having a bad deal, or not enough of them believed her bullshit that she was actually going to stick true to her word. They decided not to support it. So that's why the failure provoked discussions that basically that Theresa May had offered to fall on a sword and had missed, really, which was, just shows her incompetency, because she's...
I was going to say, it sounds like a very Theresa May thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, she only keeps such incompetent people around her because it makes her look slightly better, but
not much.
Anyway, no, not much better. No, and the MPs obviously realised that she wasn't going to be able to get anywhere with what she was doing, so they actually voted to have a binding vote on delaying Brexit, which took us past the 29th of the last month, which was of May, which was March, which was meant to be Brexit Day. It was just decided that it was going to be postponed, and it's been postponed again since then, to be perfectly honest.
That's right.
Which means that now we'll be leaving if everything goes to the schedule, we'll be leaving the EU on Halloween. Which
I guess that's fitting.
Which is interesting, because of course that's the Day of the Dead, I believe. So, which you can write your own headlines there, I think. But yes, as you said before, Theresa May is now in discussions with the Labour Party, and it's now in about the 4th week of that. With occasionally there's somebody saying, "Oh yes, it's going very well," but then saying, "Well, have you actually reached agreement on anything?" And them going, "Nope." I mean, it's a bit surprising, like you said, that she's got to this stage now where she's decided to invite the unelectable, terrorist sympathising, communist Czech spy, Putin collaborating anti-Semite Jeremy Corbyn into negotiations with her. But his deal, or the Labour Party deal, which he's championing, it seems to be the most supported deal. So if she'd just come on board with it, then it would get through. But it doesn't seem to be stopping that there's a civil war breaking out within the Tory party and her own government cabinet of ministers. It seems to be there seems to be two different sides within this her cabinet. There's on the one side there's those that want her to resign immediately, and there's those on the other side that want her gone even sooner than that. She's just had to sack her defence minister because he decided to try to make political capital out of leaking some politically sensitive documents that were related to national security.
Oh boy!
And broke the National Security Act, the Official Secrets Act, which is a criminal offence, and he had to she had to sack him. And now he's outside the government looking in, and he seems to be bringing out various weapons in order to try and actually attack her in the media. So that's going to go even worse for her than it should be first. And within the Conservative Party itself, the MPs have been discussing to see if they can do a rule change so that they can usurp this idea that they can only have a leadership no confidence vote once a year. They're trying to change the rules now. That's how bad it's got. That
they'd like to vote more often.
Yeah, they want to change the rules so they're not restricted to doing it just once a year. This is the first time they've ever considered changing that rule. And for people who are conservatives who like to keep things as they are, that's the stage they've got to.
They're looking
at changing their fundamental rules to remove their own useless. And this, this is it. I mean, they realise that they're in the shit. I mean, we've just had local elections over here. In most places in the country, we've had local elections for councillors. Yeah. City councillors and out in the county councillors and stuff. So it's not been MPs, it's just been the councillors. And the majority of those seats were already held by the Conservatives in the first place. They held roughly half of them, I suppose. But it's ended up being that there's been a bit of a backlash against the main two parties. Although it hasn't really been about, this is what it's been portrayed as in the media, that both major parties have suffered, and it's not really the case, because the Labour Party has lost 4% of its councillors. The Conservative Party has lost 24%.
yeah.
So that's not a similar number in my understanding.
Yeah.
But it seems to be that the Labour Party has won in certain areas and taken seats from Conservatives based upon the local issues. The fact that fighting against the austerity idea, and which is where they've won, and where Labour have lost is where they've been sort of more centrist Labour councils, where they've been carrying out the austerity on behalf of the Conservatives. So it's kind of a lesson to be learned, but it seems to be that it's been paraded around as being a verdict on Brexit. And
of course,
the difficulty is that probably should explain that councillors over here, city councillors and town councillors and the county councillors, they have as much influence over Brexit as you and me. So people voting based upon being able to put their verdict on Brexit and influence the Brexit deal that's going on when they're voting for people who have nothing to do with it whatsoever, is either showing massive ignorance amongst the voting public, or the fact that it's just very lazy journalism.
Which
I'm more inclined towards the second, either lazy journalism or intentional misleading. But talking to Jeremy Corbyn, just two final bits on Jeremy Corbyn. Now they've managed to have the Labour Party under Jeremy Corbyn has managed to take a lead in the poll for what Westminster voting would be as far as government, and they've taken a lead over the polls of 30% to the Tories having 20%, and usually they're around about the same figure, just sort of banded around. But now there's that third of a difference between the two, which is a decent amount. And none of this has been harmed by the fact that the poll rating has not been harmed by the fact that Jeremy Corbyn has said that when Donald Trump comes for a state visit in a few months' time, he's declared that he will not be attending the state dinner in honour of Donald Trump.
Wow.
Because he said you shouldn't be honouring a person like that who is a misogynist and a sex offender and who is a climate change denier and supporter of the right wing militancy, and he's said, and it basically then had a domino effect that a lot of the other major party leaders were saying exactly the same. So I think the only party leaders that will be at this dinner are whoever replaces Theresa May and the leader of the DUP, which is the sort of collaborative right-wing nutters up in Northern Ireland. And the other good bit of the other good headline that I saw recently in the news was Corbyn and Ocasio-Cortez in socialist plot talk.
That's a good headline.
Yeah, it's a good headline. And what it stems from, and this was actually in one of the left-wing newspapers, and it's because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she put on Twitter that she was at some community garden thing that she was doing when this and doing this vegetable plot, I believe. Yeah. And she was put out there just on Twitter, about asking people advice about what should be planted and how to tend the things and et cetera, et cetera. And Jeremy Corbyn replied with some genuine, actual, real, practical advice. Yeah. Which shows the level they're both on, where they're actually just they can they can communicate on that level about just putting some crops in the ground. And I thought this was just hilarious, where you've got people who are meant to be on the same side at the top level who are actually in government can't agree with each other, such as Theresa May and Donald Trump, and then you've got just a light-hearted discussion going on about everyday thing of tending a garden between two people who are seen as being a danger to their own countries.
That's insane.
Just wonderful. I wish I'd got a picture of the headline to actually be able to put on Twitter, because it was hilarious.
That is pretty funny.
To see that this is going on. That I thought that's just a very Jeremy Corbyn thing to do. Just go and give somebody some advice based upon how to tend a garden. Because he's known for having an allotment and making his own jam and stuff. So obviously Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is following in his footsteps there.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully that's the way we're going to go.
Oh, let's hope.
In future with that kind of communication, and they can have a word about healthcare and a few other things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So.
Oh man. So I think I have one more question too. So let's say hypothetically that they were able to remove Theresa May from power, the Conservatives, not in a general election. Yeah. Who would they have taking over for her?
Well, this is the theory out there amongst a number of people that the reason why it hasn't happened yet, and her being forced informally to step down, is because there's too much rivalry going on within the Conservative Party of them actually, different people trying to sort of shore up their own support base to be the contender that when it does happen, they're the front runner and they have enough support from a standing start. Obviously, Boris Johnson has always had his eye on that prize,
that's frightening.
But there are people who are even more right-wing and disgusting in the government who, it gets banded around. There's a guy called David Davis who was the Brexit secretary who did such an awful deal. He quit in disgust at the lack of progress, even though that was his fault.
Quitting in disgust of how bad a job I did.
Yeah, which is a very conservative thing to do.
It is.
Yeah. And Boris Johnson, as I say, he's always had his eye on the ball. There are various people around who talk about this almost comedy figure, Jacob Rees-Mogg, who is like a Victorian gentleman who wants to forcibly kick children down mines and shove them up chimneys. He wants to, that's the kind of he's like a Victorian villain from some school book, and it looks the part as well. And unfortunately, it's the same with him as it is with Boris Johnson, that some people are seeing him a bit more as a comedy figure than the actual real threat that he is. But I don't think he would garner enough support either. I think, to be honest, neither would Boris Johnson or David Davis. I think it'd be one of these lesser known characters that don't have the baggage associated with them. And previously you could have said somebody like Gavin Williamson, who was the Defence Secretary that's just had to leave for breaching the Official Secrets Act. It's those kind of people that you don't really know a lot about, but are in the powerful positions that would come to the fore and actually end up being the dark horses that would come be the agreed compromise candidate. I mean, that's what Theresa May was.
That's what I was going to say. Isn't that how she got a job in the first place?
Yeah, that's how she got to the job. She wasn't the front runner, and there was too much of Boris Johnson and some of the others who were stabbing each other in the back,
as you do.
Which is how the system of how they work. They were too busy stabbing each other in the back, and it ended up being that the support base split, and then they couldn't support each other. So the only person they could support was somebody who was actually a Remainer, despite the fact that everybody else in the running was a Brexiteer. So it's predicting who would take over is massively difficult because they're so split. It's almost as if it's every man for himself.
Gotcha. Interesting.
So hopefully, the difficulty is, again, it's be careful what you wish for, because if we did get rid of Theresa May, we might get somebody who's just as evil but actually competent.
Yeah, I know. We have the same worry. All these people want to impeach Trump, which, if you read the Mueller report, that probably is the consequence that should befall him. But if you do, you have Mike Pence.
Mike Pence, who's got less visible baggage to him, and it's less. Although he's got the whole Christian fundamentalism and the homophobia and all this kind of attached to him, it's more difficult to get sort of points scored against him.
Yeah, but the thing is that he also doesn't excite people, so it is kind of it's a very difficult spot to be in, because it's like, yes, I think. But if he got to be leader, the point is that if he got to be president, he would be much more effective at being evil than Trump is. Yeah. Because Trump is such an incompetent buffoon. But I also think that Mike Pence would be easier to defeat in an election than Donald Trump.
Yes, because he doesn't have the personality. He doesn't collect that following.
I guarantee you now there's tons of Trump supporters who don't even know who the vice president is.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's tons of Trump supporters that don't even know how to read and write their own names, so it doesn't surprise me. They do know who their sister is, though, because it also happens to be their mother.
You got less roles for people. It's just consolidation. It's easier.
Yeah, it's a lot easier that way. Yeah, you go and talk to them, and they want to introduce you to their sister and their brother and their cousin, and it turns out it's all one person.
You just say hello to one person.
But absolutely, you got to be careful on what you wish for, and the tactics of actually when to remove somebody like Trump. If he was removed, it'd have to be done at the right time. But as you know better than I do, the chances of it happening, because of the way that particularly the Senate is stacked, it's not likely to happen.
No, it's basically impossible. Yeah, because the Republicans just will not budge. It's not like it was, when Nixon was impeached, or he was about to be impeached, ended up resigning before he was impeached. But anyway, Stephen, thank you.
So what? Oh, just before you get onto that, I heard the both houses had actually approved to say that they were stopping support for the war in Yemen.
That's true, yeah.
And that Trump had decided to veto that.
Yeah.
Now, am I right that there needs to be a certain percentage of the houses vote to overrule that veto, or can it not happen at all? Overruling?
No,
the veto?
you can. Yeah, it has to be. Well, it's different for each one. I think it's something like 65 senators. I think this one will go back to the Senate for reasons I don't remember. But there needed to be enough senators to override the veto, and there was not. And it's crazy because there was enough to pass it overwhelmingly, even in the Senate.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't, it was the politics of the situation. They wouldn't override his veto.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think that was because they wanted to actually be able to say that we made a stand on this, but they didn't actually want to have the responsibility of enacting it versus the criticism they would get from their support base for sort of confronting the president?
Yeah.
I suppose that's politics.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's basically what it was. It's that they didn't want to go on record voting against, basically voting to support, how horrible things are going in Yemen. But they also don't want to be on record opposing the president, who, despite nationally being very unpopular within their constituent base, is very popular. Yeah. So it's like you can't. They were trying. I think it's the saying, you're trying to have your cake and eat it too, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose.
So, yeah, it's unfortunate, but anyway.
Right. Well, that explains that. So thank you very much. Yes,
and thank you, Stephen, for coming on. And I love how we finished the Not America report my favorite way, by talking about America.
Well, yeah, this is the thing. Yeah. Well, sometimes I do try to have a good awareness of the world and particularly the developed world. And sometimes I do pay attention to your country as well. And there are sometimes questions I have that I just can't quite get my head around. And I thought I was right about this overturning the veto thing, but I just thought I'd take this opportunity to ask because it was one of the gaps in my knowledge, as it were.
Yeah, well, it's tricky. Because even then, there's other systems in place. It's there's a filibuster. They could filibuster the vote. If there was enough coalition of conservatives who wanted to stop the override, they could have done that. So there's a whole bunch of arcane rules that nobody really needs to know, and it just means that there was a time in my life when I had too much time on my hands. That now I know that.
Well, I know it's not common knowledge with these things. I mean, I remember having this discussion with some people who you would think, union representatives over there when I was at a joint course thing, and the questions getting asked about your government, about what needed to be done. I was answering questions that the majority of the people from your country couldn't actually answer. Oh, yeah. It was a bit of an odd situation to be in, that it's almost as if there's been a intentional desire by the system to actually keep people uneducated about how the system works.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, because it's crazy. Yeah, if people knew what it took to actually get things done. I don't know. Well, in this case, they actually might be more discouraged, but in a lot of cases, I think it might actually empower people to go, okay, this is how we need to do it. Let's organize. But
there might be people who wanted to change it, and that would be dangerous.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but anyway,
or at least set up a podcast about it.
Yeah, something like that. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on, Stephen, and telling us all about Not America and some bits about America.
No, it's my pleasure, and do pass on my regards to Tom. He was missed.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Tom wasn't here. I'm just kidding. I know he'll listen to this because he always does when he's not on an episode. So I just wanted to get a couple of those jabs in before we go. But if there's anything you want to plug or anything you want to say before we sign out, then it's a good time to do that.
Just the usual, which is, people do carefully consider joining a union, paying into your Patreon, and if they want to hear more of me, they can look up the Real Britannia Film Podcast, where I review classic British films with a friend of mine called Scott.
Very nice. Which actually I have listened, and it's a very good show. I know Tom has trouble getting interested in anything that has to do with film.
Well, we did the life of we've done the life of Brian recently, so maybe he would have.
That he might actually be interested in now. I'll be sure to tell him.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks again, Stephen, for coming on. And
no problem.
I guess we'll kick it off to Twitter time, which is coming after this, hopefully later in the edit. Wink, wink. And all right, sounds good.
Thank you very much.
All right, It's recording. Sweet.
I'm recording as well.
Go ahead, go for it.
Okay. Welcome to episode 113 of Dumb All Over, recording from Pennsylvania and
Just
New
let him
York. This
go.
is
Just
what?
keep going, Tom. Go ahead.
What New York? This is wait. But
Well,
what
I'm
do
just
you mean?
saying this isn't exactly a normal episode, and that most of it's already been recorded
What-
without you.
What do you mean? I was
Yeah,
recorded without me. So this is not the beginning of the show. I pulled up all these
No.
stories for
Yeah.
Really? Oh. So what are we doing right now exactly? Why am I here?
Well, if that's a good question, I thought I should bring you on for our closing thoughts, which I thought would be interesting since you didn't get to hear the rest of the episode. So I was curious what your closing thoughts would be.
I didn't even. Well, you know what? Since you're dragging me into this podcast, I mean,
Wouldn't be the first time.
if you feel no, listen, if you're okay with recording without me, that's fine. That's fine.
Well, I didn't
but,
say I preferred it. Even if I did.
You know what? I feel left out. So I think this is a perfect time
Oh shit! I know what
to
he's
do
gonna
something. What do you think I'm going to do, Austin?
No, because if I'm wrong, then I'm going to give you the idea.
Oh, yes. It's Twitter time!
God damn you!
Yeah, that's right. I'll keep pretending that I didn't know there was more recording before this, and I'm angry. Rawr. I'm not angry. Yeah. We'll talk more about that in the after the show stuff. Okay. No, but for real, it's been a while, so let's do a little Twitter time. We did ask a question, or we asked the question, if you have questions, a little while ago, and we got a couple things. Are you ready, Austin?
I'm ready.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you positively positive about being sure?
I suppose.
Okay. We don't have a poll because fucking I didn't feel like putting a poll up. So
I can never think of what to do for those anyway.
Oh no, nah, me neither.
Yeah.
Once in a while, a little stroke of genius shows up, but very, very rarely. Very rarely. Okay. This one, that's an interesting one to start with. This first question comes from @Gomer46, Weary Pirates, friend of the show, Weary Pirates.
Okay.
Yeah, former friend of the show, I should say. How many ping pong balls can Tom fit in his mouth?
That's a good question.
Out of all the questions that anybody could come up with, that's what you want to know? Is how many ping pong balls? Yeah? Okay. Well, that's part one. And then the second part is
the
also...
second part?
There is, yeah.
Okay.
Also, would be curious to hear your guys' opinion on Andrew Yang's universal basic income plan. So we can definitely talk about that. And we'll talk about the ping pong balls too, because fuck it.
I think the ping pong balls is more of a pressing matter.
Is it though? Because ping pong balls are pretty big. I don't know. I've never actually tried this. And if I had ping pong balls, I actually totally would. I'm not going to lie. How big is a ping pong ball? Like yay big? I'm also not on camera, so like that is a little
I
small.
think so. Yeah. I don't think it's quite that small.
But they're hard plastic, so I don't know. Is this incorporating me chewing them down or like whole ping pong balls?
That's a good question.
I know. So because of that, I guess we can't answer the question. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's 3. I've tried it totally on my own. It's 3. Also would be curious to hear you guys' opinion on Andrew Yang's Universal Basic Income Plan. Okay, go Austin. I know we've talked about this, maybe not on the show, but definitely off the show for sure.
Oh, we've definitely talked about. Well, we talked about Universal Basic Income. I don't know if we've talked about Andrew Yang's.
Yeah, we might not have. So, what do you think about his plan?
Well, I mean, it's basically along the lines of what you've heard for Universal Basic Income,
Except,
but I believe his plan calls for either cutting or eliminating the other social safety nets, which is where I think he and I would diverge paths, because I think that's the conservative solution.
I know it's a very bizarre thing.
Yeah.
It's like you have, on one hand, you have this extremely progressive idea, one that both of us supported. I think we did. You did a Bigly topic on this at one point.
I did, yeah.
But then on the other hand, you actually have the worst possible way to fund it. Meanwhile, our military spending budget is so astronomically large that if you take the next 9 nations and combine their spending budgets, it still doesn't surpass ours.
Man, it's true.
But you want to cut Social Security and Medicare to fund this, but not the military budget. You know, that's where I'm like, why? And I hope, I don't know if he's qualified to make the first debates or not. I hope he does, because I think him.
He is. I think he is.
He is? Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like for him to talk about this, and I'd like somebody to press why he chose that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I'm not sure he does call for cutting Social Security and Medicare, but I believe he calls for cutting SNAP, the food stamps.
Okay.
Probably Medicaid, I would guess.
Okay.
But I don't know. I have to look. I haven't read his
I
plan
haven't read
cover
too
to
much
cover.
into it.
Yeah.
I'm with you there, Austin.
Forgive me, because I've had to read the Green New Deal. I've read through the Medicare for All bill. It's like I can only take so much like legislative writing.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
And it's not very exciting.
All in all, I like the idea. I think that's a fantastic idea if correctly implemented.
Yeah.
But drawing the money from any kind of social program, not for it, not for that, especially when there's other ways that you can do that. So that's where I kind of stand on that. I do want to hear him talk more about it though, because I'm too lazy to do my own research. So NGA, talk about it, please. Okay. That's good.
I think so, yeah.
Next question. This one comes from a good friend of ours. It used to be called War Trout, but no longer War Trout. Ron is now Mega Ron 89.
Okay. That's about right.
Yeah. Which you can also check out Megaron 89 on twitch.com.
Which I imagine is why he changed it.
Yes. Yeah. He actually has 2 questions.
Okay. What is this, like a 2-question theme?
I guess so. No. After this, it's no more, just one more. So it's music related on both. So I'll read the first one because I think that's a good setup for the second one. Okay. Why does Tom hate the Talking Heads so much when they've given us such wonderful experiences as Nothing But Flowers and I'm sorry, I accidentally went into a coma, and Psycho Killer? Okay. I think somehow Ron answered his own question by naming titles of songs.
Well, not only that, you've talked extensively about why you don't like the Talking Heads. I don't think we need to go over it again.
Yes, you know what?
If you want to listen, Ron, there's like 7 episodes where he's talked about this. Just go back in the back catalog and listen. You'll find it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll sum it up. They're a trashy band with trashy lyrics, with trashy music. Yeah, they're just a really terrible band. Top 3 least favorite, for sure. For sure. Okay. I think the other ones that round up that list are like a Def Leppard and maybe like a Journey.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Maybe Styx. Styx might be close to that list. I really find the Styx music just unbearable at times. And
when are the times when it's not unbearable?
you know what? I like some of their early stuff sometimes, like that. They have like this like little medieval kind of theme to some of their songs, and
interesting.
I think off of the Grand Illusion, there's a song called Castle Walls. I remember liking that a lot.
You know way more about Styx than I was expecting.
There you go. Yeah. That's my extent, Austin.
I mean, I know they have a song called The Grand Illusion, but that's about where Yeah. That's about it. That's where I peek out.
So there was this website, I think it's still around. It's called Last.fm. It was like Spotify many years before Spotify, where you make a free account and you just add bands that you like, and it creates your own radio station. So it was like the grandfather to Spotify. Some people listening might know what it is. They would also play a lot of recommended music, even though that sometimes drove me crazy. And that's how I found out about some of their Styx songs. Because if you listen to like, some bands from the 80s, they say, "Oh, this band is sort of like you," and they would play. But I would skip a lot of them.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then the second one's for you, also from Megaron. Further, which band does Austin dislike that might shock listeners? Ooh. It's a good one. Actually, I'm interested in this question too, because we talk. Like, I know the bands that you dislike, but you also mentioned those on the show quite often.
Yeah, that's why I'm not sure. I mean, if you haven't listened to the show, I assume it'd be U2 would be the shocking one.
I think if you listen to the show, that's not shocking.
It's not shocking
at all. No. At all. Maybe the least shocking thing you've ever said.
I know. But if you didn't, maybe that would shock you. I'm not sure.
Think of another big band that.
I mean, I don't like a lot of them, so I'm not sure.
Okay, well, give us one. I'll tell you if you give us one, and if I'm shocked by it, then you haven't said it before. So just start listing bands you don't like. That are somewhat popular and.
Well, I don't like Bon Jovi.
I kind of knew that, but I don't think you ever talked about that.
I don't like Bruce Springsteen.
Who likes Bruce Springsteen unless you're from Jersey? Let's be honest.
It's almost the same with Jovi, actually.
Kind of, yeah. What about Guns N' Roses? You like a GNR?
I'm indifferent.
Yeah, so not really.
That's like they don't do anything for me.
No. What about like one of the popular metal bands, Metallica? I never really listened. You never really. I feel
indifferent to them too. Like I've taught a couple of their songs. It's the only reason I know anything from Metallica.
Okay. What about like a Maiden or a Priests or something like that? You like them?
Well, I feel.
Well, you're indifferent.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it's hard, like it's hard to. There's only a couple bands I really hate.
Right.
But I don't know. Maybe people are surprised my indifference to them. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Like so what are the bands that you hate? Let's go there.
Well, U2, of course.
Yeah, we know that.
It's U2. I think, U2, Springsteen, Bon Jovi. I'm trying to think of the other ones I hate. Like, I can't stand. Well, Journey, of course.
Journey, yeah. I don't
Supertramp. I can't stand them.
You can't put Supertramp in this. They have 2 songs. Literally 2 songs.
Okay. I don't care. I still hate them. That's as many songs as Journey has.
No, Journey has way too many radio hits. Way too many. Journey has. That's the opposite reason why I hate Journey, because they're always on like the radio or classic rock stations. I mean, it's not like they have a shit ton of music, but they just overplay all of them.
Yeah, they're pretty horrible.
Yeah, they're not good. They're not good. I would like to listen to a Journey song or an album that didn't get popular and see if there's any difference. Maybe I like
apparently the first one, from what I'm told.
Is it decent, or you haven't listened
apparently
to it?
I've heard a couple tracks and I was shocked. Well, it's because the lead singer's not there.
Oh,
and it's more of like a 70s like hard rock.
Oh, yeah, like
psychedelic album almost.
I might get into that. You know, like, and I think that's part of the thing. Like, I don't hate U2. I don't love them at all, but I don't hate them. But the one thing that always drove me crazy is they've been around for like 40 years and they've never changed their style of music ever.
That's true.
Ever. So
Mostly
it's like,
what I hate is the smugness.
Okay.
They're so fucking smug.
They
And
are.
they butted themselves onto my iPod, which I was not a fan of.
Apple fucked you over there big time.
Yeah, I was not thrilled. And I remember somebody said, like, because I went on a little Twitter tirade, and somebody said, you know, people who use Apple products shouldn't be shocked that, you know, Apple can do whatever they want. I'm like, I'm not shocked by that. I'm shocked by how poor a taste they have.
I remember you telling
That's
me.
what made me angry.
I remember you telling me too. You were like, one of my biggest fears is that people are going to think I'm a U2 fan.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I opened my iTunes and they saw U2 in there.
Yeah, that's
How would I explain
that's definitely got to be your least favorite band, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, that's not my least favorite music. I just don't like them.
I just don't like
They
them.
piss me off.
Yeah, no.
But
I get it,
So
though.
I don't know if
I
any of
get
that
it.
was shocking, but there you
Maybe to somebody, and if that's the case, then you did your job. All right.
go. No.
Oh boy, this next question. Oh boy. This comes from our very, very good friend, John, from the Wayward Willis podcast.
Okay. He has a knack for asking interesting questions.
Yeah. Who was the best Batman? So,
Oh, well, Tom doesn't know any of them.
here's the thing, okay?
Mhm.
I knew there was a Batman, but I didn't know any of these guys played them, and I did not understand why there's so many. So this is the list that he gave.
Okay.
Adam West, Michael Keaton,
Mhm.
Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale, and Ben Affleck. So I'll say this. I'll start off, and then you can actually give a real
A real answer?
real
As somebody
answer.
who's actually seen all those movies?
Yeah. I thought Adam West was a fake character from Family Guy. I'm not going to lie to you.
No, he was a real actor.
I thought that he was just a thing from Family Guy, and I loved his character on Family Guy. I did not know he was actually a real person.
He's a
Number
real
one.
person, yeah.
Michael Keaton. I just rewatched The Founder. Michael
he was good in that.
Very good. And obviously everyone knows him most likely from Beetlejuice, or I guess maybe Batman. I didn't know. But I love
both Tim Burton movies, by the way.
Oh, interesting. I do like Michael Keaton. Val Kilmer, I just watched Tombstone for the first time, which I thought was a very good movie.
Mhm.
And Val Kilmer was in that as
That's true.
what the fuck? Holiday.
Okay. Who the fuck remembers the character names from that movie? The movie came out like 20 years ago.
I mean, a lot of people remember things from past 20 years ago. Austin. Didn't Seinfeld come out like 20 years ago?
I know, but there's only 4 characters to keep track of. It's a lot easier.
There's more than that. There's the soup Nazi. George
Well,
Clooney.
it's hard to forget that name.
Did not know George Clooney was Batman. Had no
Yeah,
idea.
It was very bad.
Okay, maybe that's why I don't know. Christian Bale, I don't even know who that is. And Ben Affleck, I feel like I know the name, but I don't know who that is either. So, from this list,
You
Michael
don't know who
Keaton,
Ben Affleck
greatest
is?
Batman of all time. All right. Go ahead,
Michael
Austin.
Keaton was a good Batman.
I know. That's why I picked him.
Well, it's certainly not George Clooney.
No, is it really that bad?
It's a bad movie.
Oh, boy.
it's
Oh,
bad.
boy.
Arnold Schwarzenegger plays Mr. Freeze. Moving on.
Nothing to see here. George Clooney played Mr. Freeze. Okay.
No. Arnold Schwarzenegger played Mr. Freeze.
Arnold Schwarzenegger was Batman?
No, he was not Batman. But he would have been better as Batman.
Than George Clooney.
I
Wow.
think so. It would have been more interesting.
So who's Adam West, and why haven't you I don't know? Was he a bad Batman or something?
Well, Adam West was the jokey Batman in the 60s.
The Joker Batman?
No, he was just, it was their portrayal of Batman was very
Cartoonish?
cartoonish, yes.
Yeah, okay.
But
So-
not even like the Batman cartoons that we grew up with, because those were actually kind of serious. Like he was just a joke.
So he's not the best Batman.
I mean, if you like that style, he definitely is the best because all the other ones would be too serious for you.
Okay.
But he's like in their show, when they punch somebody, the big pow would come up on the screen.
Oh, okay.
And it was like everything was kind of a joke.
Okay, I gotcha.
And
what about Val Kilmer? I didn't know he was a Batman either.
he was Batman in the same movie with Jim Carrey when he played the Riddler.
Was that good? That sounds bad.
It was okay.
Okay.
It was better than the George Clooney one.
All right, so you're putting George Clooney at the bottom. Okay.
Yes,
so
very much so. Yeah, I think it's Christian Bale, to be honest.
is Christian Bale the Batman from the Dark Knight?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen the Dark Knight, but I kind of just figured that. I don't know who Ben Affleck is.
How could you not know who Ben Affleck is?
I don't know. What other movies has he been in?
Oh my God, he was in Argo. He was in there's the famous one that he was in. That name I can't remember, with Robin Williams.
There's Dazed and Confused.
Oh, I forgot he was in that.
Chasing Amy, Dogma, Good Will Hunting. Is that what
Good
you're
Will
thinking
Hunting?
about?
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
I didn't see that. Armageddon. I think.
He was in Gone Girl. He was the husband.
Oh, I've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't terrible, but the movie was. So it's hard to like. It's hard to like a performance in a really bad movie.
I guess I can understand that. So you're going with Christian Bale?
I think so. Yeah.
All right. I go with Michael Keaton because he's probably the only actor I actually know from this list.
He would also be my second choice.
Ooh, see, I know what I'm talking about. Suck it, nerds. Next and final question from Propaganda. How was the interview, by the way? Did you guys have fun?
we had a very good time.
Yeah. Good. If Dumb All Over was a TV sitcom, then who would each of you pick to play yourself and your co-host?
Wow. If it was a sitcom, it's kind of funny. Why don't you go? Because actually, I don't know.
Oh, that's not fair. Wow. Who a TV sitcom. So it's gotta be somebody who's relatively funny. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I have no fucking clue.
I think David Cross would play you. And
who?
David Cross, you don't know who that is?
Never heard of him.
Okay. He's very funny.
He doesn't look anything like me.
We're characters.
He doesn't look anything like me.
It's not a true to life
He's got to be able to grow hair, Austin. Fine for you, Sacha Baron Cohen. Oh, but this makes no fucking sense, right?
I'd be happy with that.
Fuck you.
That's a good casting.
David Cross. Oh man, he looks like a pedophile. He looks like a pedophile, man. Come on, pick someone else. That's not fair.
Oh, well, who the hell else is in a good sitcom?
I'm just going to Google comedians because I have no idea.
Maybe John Mulaney.
John Mulaney.
He doesn't look anything like you either, but he's funny. But
he has hair. He could pass. Oh, is this? I don't know who this is.
His sitcom wasn't very good, but he is funny.
Okay. Can I be Dave Chappelle?
No, you can't be Dave Chappelle.
I want to be Dave Chappelle.
Your humor is nothing like Dave Chappelle.
I know. What's my humor like then? Pick a comedian that's similar to mine, or maybe you just did with this.
I did.
Guy.
That was the whole point.
Okay, fucking relax. Man, I'm trying to think of someone who like kind of reminds me of your humor. I really don't know. And I do watch comedians. It just
it's that guy whose name I can never remember.
Yeah, fucking fantastic, Austin. Did he have the face?
No, he plays Ron Swanson in Parks and Recreation.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I can never remember his name though.
He was. I remember. Yeah. Nick Offerman.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good one. That's a good one.
His humor and my humor are very similar.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. I typed in Ron Swanson on Google, and I get the first question that pops up is Ron Swanson a libertarian?
He is a libertarian. That's where he and I would differ.
The fictional character or
yeah,
Nick
the fictional
Offerman?
character. No, the fictional character. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you want Nick Offerman to play.
That's true. Yeah, he's playing me. He's
we're not.
playing
Yeah,
Ron
we're not
Swanson,
talking about Ron Swanson. Okay, and then you picked John Mulaney for me.
Yeah, John Mulaney for you.
Man, I don't know about that. I just know who he is. I don't know. I don't know enough about.
Or what about? How about this? How about Eric McCormick? Maybe that's better.
Oh my god! Can't pick real people. Eric McCormick. Why is my Google search bar all the way off to the right? What the fuck just happened? Who the fuck is this? What the fuck? Who is this?
He's Will from Will and Grace.
Oh, okay.
He's funny.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Austin.
I think John Mulaney was a better pick, but you asked for anybody else. So that's the
No.
only way
I didn't. No, that's fine. You pick. It doesn't matter who you pick.
Yeah, I think John Mulaney is the one I'd settle on.
Okay. I don't.
Who would you want to play yourself?
I would want Bryan Cranston.
Fair. Well, hey, it's your choice.
I want Bryan Cranston to play me.
That's fair.
And I want
Bryan Cranston. Wow.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, he was great, Malcolm in the Middle, but
there is
I don't
somebody
see the
that
two of you as anything alike.
There's somebody. Everybody tells me I remind them of this one actor. I don't know if he's a comedian or not, but I can't think of the name.
Okay.
As far as looks go, I guess I would have to pick him, but I can't remember. I like your picks better.
Yeah.
You know more about this shit than I do. I can't think of this kind of stuff. I really can't. All the actors I'm thinking about are old. So I don't know any modern actors at all. So, all right. Well, there's that.
Okay.
Listen, we tried. A couple things while we're on Twitter time. They're not questions, but Hannah, HPrib012, our good friend Hannah, she had mentioned two things. One, that we should do Patreon only shows of us rambling while high.
Which I'm down for that.
I think is a fun idea. I love that.
I like that.
People seem to like the 420 episode.
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah.
And I got to reuse System of a Down, which was one of my favorite titles.
Yes, you did. And then she also mentioned, pretty sure an Americano is just espresso and water. I think
an Americano is, yeah.
Okay. Nice. And then Joe Stio, our good buddy, Sodawada 333. We gave him a bunch of bands to work with, almost as if we anticipated that we were going to miss a week. Sorry about that. And here are the bands. Okay.
Gotcha.
Rand Paul's Drag Race, Sammy Hagar cover band. Super Rich, Rick James.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. The Outsider in the Closet, R. Kelly.
You know what? That's perfect. Yeah.
Yep. Kind of fucking hilarious, Less Than Jake. Okay. And half calf soy Americano. Definitely an Austin cover band.
That was
Mapei? My Pie? Mapei. Mapei?
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
I don't know. Joe picked the fake band. So I'm not sure if that counts.
I think I'm ruling that it counts.
Well, he also he used the hashtag "fuck you guys" when he realized that we gave him all those bands.
I think that's fair.
So there you go.
Yeah. We really
we did. Okay, I think that's it for Twitter time. I don't think I got anything else here.
I have to say my cover band names haven't been as good in the show as they have been
on streams.
Yeah, when you guys play RuneScape, just so many cover band names.
We've been coming up with a lot. Yeah. It's kind of weird
because all of those ridiculous things that they named the stuff in that game really just lends itself to cover bands.
So I've just opened up the trends. This is related to Twitter, right? And
Yeah, it is.
at the time that we are recording it is 5/7/2019, May 7th. Okay. Some of the things that are trending. Hashtag lock Mnuchin up.
I like that.
Underneath that is Jill Biden. I'm like, interesting. Why Jill Biden?
Oh, yeah. Because she's like,
Jill Biden said, it's time to move on from the Anita Hill controversy.
yeah, I like how the people who did the wrong thing get to tell you when it's time to move on.
Yeah, I wish everything was like that, right? It's like, I'm late for work, right?
It's time to move on from when I was late for work this morning. Right?
I mean, it seems very simple, and I wish I could do that.
That would be awesome.
That
if you
would
had
be
that
so
power.
good.
Oh
well,
my God.
I mean, you don't have to worry about that anymore.
No, I don't. But
You can't be late for your own job. Well,
no,
maybe you
because
can.
it just constantly happens all the time.
All right, let's end Twitter time and take a quick break. And we'll be back with our final thoughts.
Sounds good.
And we're back. And so ends our short, in my case, dumb show.
Yeah,
Still a big dumb show, though.
it is. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I can't remember how long the interview is, but it's sizable.
Nice. Good. Austin, what are your final thoughts?
Well, of course, I want to thank Stephen for coming back on the show
It was a
again.
fun interview. Had a great time.
Yeah. Tom is the quietest he's ever been in his life.
I had audio issues. Didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't record. I was there, though. Yeah.
Yeah, he was there in spirit.
In spirit, yeah. I died and I haunted the interview. I was there listening to everything that happened in England. England's still shitty, apparently. Oh, I didn't have to listen to the show to know that.
Yeah, well, wait till you hear it.
I will. I will
interesting.
listen to that one. I will.
Yeah. And I was going to say other stuff about, but I don't want to give away what we talked about because Tom hasn't heard it yet. So I will let Tom listen.
What is
But,
this, Game of Thrones? Who the fuck cares?
Game of Thrones, no spoilers. Yeah. By the way, that might be a more shocking thing than the bands I don't like. Is that Game of Thrones? Not a huge fan.
Ooh, opening up questions for the next Twitter time next month.
Yeah, I can't get into it. I don't hate it. I'm not like those people. Like those people annoy me too. That people have to go on Facebook and be like, "What's a Game of Thrones?" Like, shut the fuck up. You know what it is.
For me, I haven't tried that show yet. So much like drugs, I probably will try.
Much like every show that's ever been made, Tom hasn't tried it yet.
But I will say that in a shocking thing, I do not like The Walking Dead at all. I don't think that's shocking.
As a matter of fact, I think that's pretty much the universal opinion now.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's a show that's gone on far too long.
A lot of shows are like that, honestly.
Yeah, but this one specifically, I mean, the premise is so flimsy. Like, how long can you watch people just kill zombies? And the storylines aren't that interesting.
I know this is very late, but I thought of an actor that I want playing me.
Okay. Sure. Whatever.
Did you watch New Girl?
I'm aware of the show. Yeah.
Okay. There's a character on there played by, I should probably get his name, but he was also in one of the Jurassic Worlds.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
I like him.
Actually, that would be good for you.
Yeah. I like him. Let me find the name quick. And
he was also in Safety Not Guaranteed. He was very good in that.
I don't know what that is. I'm sorry.
It's a good movie.
Jake Johnson? Yeah, Jake Johnson.
That's it. Yeah.
He looks a little bit like me,
yeah.
And I do think his comedy style is very similar.
That's nice. That's a deep dive.
Yeah.
Not somebody I would have thought of off the top of my head, but yeah.
I'll tell you, I actually like New Girl. It was a pretty good show for the first couple seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, what going on?
I'm gonna have Jason Alexander play you. That's who it's gonna be.
All right, hold on. I don't know who that is. Jason.
Wait till he sees who it is. He's gonna be so mad.
Why? Why? Stop! I don't want any Seinfeld people playing me. Oh. Although he is in the news because apparently he fought with Ted Cruz online, which is kind of funny.
And what are you talking about? You said you wanted Bryan Cranston to play you.
I said no Seinfeld.
He was the dentist.
Stop. That doesn't count. It doesn't count if he's in for one episode.
No, he was in like 4 seasons.
All right, 4 episodes. Very good.
He was in more than 4 episodes.
No, he wasn't.
He was Tim Watley.
Stop.
Yeah, he
Stop.
converted to Judaism purely for the jokes.
Okay. It didn't happen.
It did happen.
No, it didn't.
It did.
No proof. There's no witnesses.
As a matter of fact,
Nope,
when he
no
was
one-
in that show, he looked more like you.
No.
Yeah, he did.
No. I'm going to look up his filmography right now.
Okay.
I'm telling you, he wasn't in television in that regard. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
I know it
No,
was.
shit. It's 5 episodes, Austin. 5 episodes from 1994 to 1997. That doesn't count. I'm
counts.
sorry. No,
It
it
counts.
doesn't. It totally doesn't.
It does.
No, it doesn't. No.
It counts.
No. Mewtwo made more appearances on Pokemon than he made on fucking Seinfeld.
U2 is in Pokemon?
Mewtwo. Don't fight me on Pokemon. Actually,
Nobody's going to fight you.
I actually don't even think Mewtwo was in that many episodes. So before I piss off any Pokemon fans listening, I should probably figure that out.
Obviously, Mewtwo is the U2 cover band.
No.
Come on, it's too perfect.
Mewtwo is the Mew cover band because there's a Mew as well as a Mewtwo.
Is there?
Yeah, that's why it's
Okay.
Mewtwo. It's like Mew the second, but it's Mewtwo.
That's really dumb.
No, you're really dumb. Okay.
Yeah,
What
but
are your
I'm not
final
the-
thoughts, Austin? I don't want to hear your fucking opinions anymore.
My final thought is that my opinions reign supreme.
Yeah. Trump.
Now, you're so right. So right. By the way, have fun trying to get my tax returns.
Yeah, we're gonna get him.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, we're gonna get him. We're gonna
Not
get
going to
him.
happen. Not going to happen.
We're gonna
I
have
put
to
them in his shoebox underneath
Okay.
my bed.
listen. We'll talk about this. This is coming up soon for us. Okay. Anything
Nobody's
else?
Gonna get them.
Anything else, Austin?
Nope, that's all.
Nothing.
Nothing. No.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you, Stephen, for coming on the show. I'm glad to have been there. All right. So
In his way.
the thing is, we had everything planned out. And then I forgot how the first thing happened. Was it you? You had to go back to the city?
You were the first one.
Was I? Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right. So I had to cancel because of war. No, work was the second one. I forgot what the first one was, but we had
Poor
everything
Steven.
planned. And then plans backfired. So we canceled for the next day, and then Austin had to run home quick. He was in Pennsylvania, and he had to go back home to New York.
Yep.
So we had to cancel then, and then we rescheduled for a few days later, and then I had to pull a double at work. And I was like, no, just record it, please. Please.
Yeah, we
So,
couldn't push
yeah.
Steven back anymore.
And now, so that's why, because we still wanted to get another episode out this week. So we still might. So if you're listening to this in a couple of days, you might hear another episode, depending on, I don't know. Austin, I have to figure that shit out. But there's a lot that's happening. So we got to record an episode soon.
That's
Oh,
true.
There's a lot happening. in
There's
this
quite
country.
a bit, yeah.
Yeah, we missed a little bit. But yeah, I don't have any final thoughts because I wasn't here. Shit.
You could have final thoughts about Twitter time, I suppose.
I could, but more impressively, how creepy has my room gotten since we started recording? Like,
I know it's like you're in like a
it's
vortex.
I know it's so fucking dark in here. It's only 6:22. What the fuck happened?
Well, I think your camera's fixating on the curtains you've pulled down.
The curtains totally fell. I was trying to get some light in here and they just fell.
Let there be light. And apparently, the Home Depot bill.
Yeah. Lowe's. I prefer to go to Lowe's.
Yeah, everybody should, because the guy who owns Home Depot is an asshole.
Well, if you go to OpenSecrets.org, you realize that Lowe's contributes money to both Republicans and Democrats, and so does Home Depot, but Home Depot's far more right-wing. So,
Well, yeah, the guy who owns Home Depot is an asshole.
yeah, so if I have to pick between the two, I'm going to pick Lowe's, but I'd rather pick neither, because both of those stores are just fucking terrible. They're terrible. I
You know
hate
what's
them.
crazy is, like, in my neighborhood in New York, there actually are, like, locally owned hardware shops.
We have them up here where I moved. There's a bunch.
Oh, yeah,
around
that's
here.
right. I forgot. Yeah, you're right.
But I don't want to support these people either. I'm being completely honest with you. The one right down the road has a Trump sign. It's old, so it's been there for a little while. And I'm like,
I
I'm not-
imagine the guy who owns it.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I was afraid to open
He's
the
old
door.
and has been there for a while.
Yeah, I was afraid to open the door too quickly. He might fucking poof into dust. It was pretty old. He was decrepit. Fucking deplorables. Hate him. Yeah, but I don't want to give them my money either. So I don't.
No, I think that's fair.
Nah, so I'm just I just gotta move
Yeah.
to Canada.
Yep.
I'm thinking about going to Canada again. I'm bringing back my Canada fascination.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So if anyone is listening and you're from Canada, shoot me some, or go to our Twitter page at @DomoloRobot and give me some information on Canada. I'm interested.
Meanwhile, while you do that, I'm going to negotiate with Steven, see if I can move to London, maybe.
Why? They're in no better position than we are right now.
Excuse me? They have universal health care?
For now, we'll see what happens.
No, they're not going to get rid of
That country is not the best right now. I want to go to all right. I want to go to a country that is just fucking quiet and does nothing. They don't invade. They don't talk to other countries. They just do their own Canadian thing. Very friendly to each other.
I think you're talking about Denmark.
Yeah, well, I don't speak Denmarkanese, so I can't.
Wow,
go
that's
to Denmark.
incredibly offensive.
Well, they're a shithole country, so it's fair.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I saw a map of the most and least corrupt countries. There, it was like a bar, and there was a shade of color, and they are the least corrupt country in the world. And there was like how they got there, criteria, but they were the least corrupt. Number 2 is Canada, so I was like, hey, surprising. And then number 3 was like Sweden or Finland. I'm like, what a shocker.
I wonder if that's still true of Canada, because I know Trudeau's facing a corruption scandal.
It was like, this was 2016, the map, so probably pre-scandal, but still, I think overall, it's probably still up there as one of the least corrupt. And there was other criteria. It wasn't just government either. There was a lot of business stuff too. So, yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well, this
Canada sounds fair.
Canada. Oh, Canada. That's all I know of that theme song. So,
Okay.
National anthems are just theme songs. They really are.
They are. Yeah.
Yeah. And ours involves the word bomb. Surprising anybody?
No. And then if you go to like the later verses, they're really racist.
Yeah, very. Also, I don't know.
It
if
really
I've said-
does capture America.
It really does. Also, Austin, I don't know if I've said this recently, but fuck Jerusalem. If Jerusalem didn't exist, according to Joe Biden, we would have had to create one. Did you see that? And that's the other reason why I said fuck
one
you,
of his
Jerusalem.
many gaffes.
Yeah, well, the one that we'll talk about when we do our next episode, him praising Dick Cheney. That one got me erect. Anyway, let's not go into that today. We'll save that for next time.
Let's not go into that ever.
Yeah, wait until I stand up, Austin. Whew.
No.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed Austin and Steven's show today. We'll be back, Austin and I, soon.
Very
talk
soon.
about some-
Because we got to get more episodes.
Yep. To talk about some shit that's happening in a country. All right. I'm rambling.
Oh, yeah, you are. All right. So
Yeah.
pre-recorded Tom, you can take it from here.
That's my line.
I know, but you weren't saying it, and somebody had to.
Pre-recorded Tom. Do you know?
And it's too late now.
Fuck. Once again, thank you so much for listening. As always, you can find us on Spreaker.com/DumbleOverPod. We're also available on iTunes. Just look up DumbleOverPod. We are on all the social medias, starting with Twitter @DumbleOverPod, Facebook @DumbleOverPod, and of course, there's Instagram. And you guessed it, it's @DumbleOverPod. We are also on Patreon, so check out our Patreon at patreon.com/DumbleOverPod. And if you're interested in buying some merch with some special logos, you can check that out at tpublic.com/user/DumbleOverPod. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next week.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.